My parents gifted me a $100 check for graduation, then bought my brother a car. 2 years later, they got my invitation to my $1 million housewarming party. Hey there, we're working hard to hit our first 1,000 subscribers. If you love true, emotional stories, hit that subscribe button. It helps more than you know. Now let's get into the story. I knew the night was going to be bad the second my dad ordered the cheapest wine on the menu. Not because we couldn't afford better. No, my parents made good money. Enough for vacations, new furniture every year, and brand new cars when my little brother wanted to flex at school. It was because tonight wasn't about me. It never had been. We were sitting at a round table at this semi-fancy steakhouse. The kind of place with dim lights and real candles. The kind of place where normal parents celebrate their kid graduating from college. For years, 2 part-time jobs, mountains of student loans under my name, sleepless nights where I didn't know how I'd afford the next semester. And somehow I made it. A bachelor's degree, honors. First one in the family. You'd think that would mean something. The waitress brought out the steaks, and my mom didn't even look up from her phone. My brother, let's call him Ryan, was grinning like he had something to announce. I should have trusted my gut when he kept bouncing his leg under the table. He loved having the spotlight. Right as I'm cutting into my steak, my dad goes, "Well, Ryan has some exciting news." Not, "Congratulations, OP." Not, "We're proud of you." Nope. Straight to Ryan. Ryan puffs up his chest. "They got me a new car." He pulls out his phone and flashes a picture. A brand new, shiny black Jeep. Huge tires. Chrome everything. Fully loaded. Everyone at the table claps. Even my grandma. Even my aunt. I'm sitting there with my fork frozen in midair. And then, and I swear I'm not making this up, my mom pulls a card out of her purse, hands it across the table to me, and says, "We didn't forget about you." Laughing like she just pulled the funniest prank of the year. I open the card. Inside is a wrinkled check for $100. Signed sloppily. No note. No "proud of you." No nothing. I stared at it for a second. I think my brain short-circuited because I couldn't even form words. Ryan leans over and claps me on the back. "You're lucky, man. Some kids don't get anything." Like he was being serious. Like I should be grateful for pocket change while he drove off in a $40,000 Jeep. My parents laughed it off, said something about how I was the independent one and never needed much. They kept eating like it was the most normal thing in the world. And right then and there, while everyone else dug into their steaks and toasted Ryan's Jeep, I made a decision. I wasn't going to beg for their approval. I wasn't going to try to make them proud. I was going to build a life so big, so undeniable, that one day, they would have to watch it from the outside. And the best part? They wouldn't even realize they locked themselves out until it was too late. Moving out felt like freedom at first. I stuffed everything I owned into the back seat of my beat-up Civic, cranked the windows down, and drove away without looking back. No hugs. No packed lunches. No "good luck, son." Just the hollow sound of my own tires crunching down the driveway. My first place wasn't exactly glamorous. It was a tiny studio apartment above a laundromat. The kind where the walls were so thin you could hear your neighbor snoring. The kitchen was a stove, a sink, and about 3 feet of counter space if you counted the top of the mini fridge. The whole place smelled like detergent and burnt toast. I didn't care. It was mine. And it was quiet. No backhanded compliments. No watching my brother get handed things I'd killed myself trying to earn. No feeling like a guest in my own life. The first few months were brutal. I worked at a diner in the mornings, refilling coffee, bussing tables, pretending not to notice when customers snapped their fingers at me. At night, I delivered food for a dozen different apps. Tacos, Thai, burgers, anything that kept my gas tank full and my lights on. There were nights I came home so exhausted, I just collapsed on the floor next to the door, still in my apron. Sometimes I woke up hours later, still clutching my phone in my hand like a security blanket. I barely had enough for rent, ramen, and gas. Forget about saving. Forget about treating myself. Forget about asking for help, because every time I hinted at it, I got the same passive-aggressive comments. "You're so independent, remember? You're not like Ryan, always needing a safety net." Well, you chose this path. It stung. Way more than I let myself admit. But somewhere in all that mess, somewhere between taking out garbage at 3 a.m. and eating stale dollar store cereal for dinner, a fire started to build inside me. A stubborn, angry little flame that said, "If nobody's going to save you, fine. Save yourself." I started tinkering with an idea I'd been dreaming about since college, a simple app that could make organizing freelance gigs easier. It wasn't anything fancy. It wasn't going to save the world. But maybe, just maybe, it could save me. So after 12-hour shifts, after sore feet and numb hands, I stayed up and taught myself how to code. YouTube tutorials, free online classes, line after line of buggy, broken code. Every night, just chipping away. It was slow. It was lonely. And it was absolutely the best decision of my life. One night, around 2 a.m., after debugging a stupid error that had me stuck for weeks, I finally got the prototype running. I sat there on the floor in my cramped, laundry-scented apartment, staring at the blinking screen. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I let myself believe it. Maybe this is what it feels like to win. Of course, reality snapped back fast. Bills, rent hikes, exhaustion, and one really special phone call that summer. My mom, breezily on speakerphone. "Hey, honey, your brother's having a rough time. Jeep payments are killing him. Maybe you could send him a little something? You're always so good with money. Good with money. Good enough to be their backup wallet. But not good enough for a car. Or a real graduation gift. Or a damn phone call asking how I was doing." I didn't say yes. I didn't say no. I just let the call go silent until she awkwardly hung up. And right there, sitting in the parking lot of the diner, sweaty and sticky in my uniform, I promised myself, the next time they wanted something from me, they'd have to come find me. And it wasn't going to be easy. Not anymore. I spent a year living in survival mode. Work, code, sleep, if I could afford the time, repeat. No nights out unless they were delivering burgers to people having nights out. I used to joke that I knew every pothole in the city better than I knew my own reflection. When the app was finally ready, rough, ugly, barely stitched together, I thought I was golden. I thought investors would line up around the block. I pictured Shark Tank moments, champagne, people shaking my hand. Reality? Reality kicked me in the teeth. Every pitch meeting was the same. Interesting idea, but you're too early. Maybe come back when you have more traction. We're not looking to invest in individuals right now. Some didn't even bother pretending. They just ghosted me. Each rejection felt like a punch. After the 5th one, I started to wonder if I was crazy. After the 10th, I started to believe it. There was one night I sat alone in that crumbling apartment, laptop open on my knees, email inbox full of rejections. Outside, a storm was blowing so hard the windows rattled. Inside, I stared at the blinking cursor of a half-finished job application to go back to waiting tables full-time. I was that close to quitting. That close. Then, a miracle. Or maybe just dumb luck. One of my delivery regulars, this grumpy old guy who ordered the same turkey sandwich every Thursday, asked what I did besides being Uber Eats' finest. I don't know why, but I told him. Told him about the app. Told him about the dream. He nodded once, said, "Send me the link," and slammed the door in my face. 3 days later, I got an email from his daughter. Turns out, she ran a business accelerator. Small, scrappy, but legit. They liked the idea. They wanted me to come pitch. I nearly threw up walking into that meeting. Worn-out sneakers, thrift store blazer, shaking hands. But I told them the truth. No buzzwords, no market synergies, just my real story. Why I built it. Who it was for. Why it mattered. They gave me a shot. A tiny seed investment. Just enough to cover a real developer to help clean up the app, some marketing, and, most importantly, a few months of breathing room to work full-time on it. I poured everything into it. Every late night, every slammed door, every backhanded comment from my parents. I used all of it as fuel. Then one day, about 3 months later, everything exploded. A mid-sized influencer, someone I didn't even know personally, tweeted about how my app helped them land freelance gigs faster. They called it life-saving. I woke up to thousands of notifications, thousands of downloads. My app broke. The servers crashed. I thought I was ruined. But it was the opposite. That crash, it was the best thing that could have happened. Because everyone started talking about it. Everyone wanted to see what the little app that couldn't handle its own success was. Suddenly, investors started calling me. Suddenly, people wanted in. Within 6 months, we had real offices, real staff, real revenue. And me? I had a bank account that finally stopped giving me heart attacks every time I checked it. I moved out of the laundromat palace, got a sleek little apartment downtown, started eating at places where they didn't ask if you wanted fries with that. But the best part wasn't the money or the apartment. or even the fancy title on my business cards. The best part was knowing, deep down, that every late night, every slammed door, every wrinkled $100 check was about to be paid back. Not with words, but with something way sweeter. Success so loud they couldn't ignore it, and silence so cold they couldn't penetrate it. And the first step? Sending out the invitations. 2 years after they handed me that wrinkled $100 check, I signed the paperwork for my first house. Not just any house. A 6-bedroom, modern glass and stone masterpiece perched on a hill, looking down over the city skyline like it owned the world. It had a backyard bigger than the park I grew up playing in. A kitchen that could make a 5-star chef cry happy tears. Marble floors so polished you could practically see into another dimension. A pool that lit up at night like something out of a magazine. And the best part? Every single inch of it was mine. No loans from parents. No gifts. No lucky breaks handed to me. Just years of grind and sacrifice finally paying off. As I walked through the empty halls the first night with the keys jingling in my hand, I couldn't stop smiling. Not the fake kind you put on for customers. The real, almost crazy kind that bubbles up when you realize you did something everyone secretly bet you'd never do. I thought about what to do next. Throw a party? Invite friends? Celebrate quietly? Then I had a better idea. I ordered a stack of thick, custom-printed housewarming invitations. Classy, heavy cardstock. Elegant gold lettering. Minimalist design. Just the essentials. My full name, the one they barely said with pride. The date and time. The new address. Dress code, business casual. No explanation. No bragging. No guess who made it, captions. Just an invitation. Cold. Simple. Final. I mailed one to my parents' house. Addressed to Mr. and Mrs. We Believe in Ryan. I mailed another to Ryan himself. Even threw in a little handwritten note. Hope you can make it. Bring the Jeep. Petty? Maybe. But after years of being treated like the background character in my own life, I figured I earned a little theatrical flair. As the RSVP texts rolled in from friends, coworkers, and the new people in my life who actually celebrated me, I waited. No response from my parents. None from Ryan. Fine by me. The night of the party, the house was buzzing. People laughing on the balcony. Music playing softly inside. Tables lined with catered food and champagne towers. The pool glowing under the stars. And right around 7 p.m., like clockwork, my parents pulled up. In the same mid-range SUV they'd bought when Ryan started college. Ryan slouched in the back seat, sunglasses on even though the sun was setting. They looked confused, almost nervous. I could tell just standing there in the foyer, watching them through the glass doors, that they weren't sure they were in the right place. When they finally walked inside, their faces went stiff. They shook hands with a few of my friends, made awkward small talk. I could feel the questions radiating off them. How did he afford this? Whose house is this really? Maybe he got lucky. Maybe he married rich. I smiled. Warm, polite, distant. Gave them the grand tour, just like I would any other guests. This is the library, I said casually. Yeah, I had a library now. Full shelves, leather chairs, a globe, the whole thing. Thinking about turning it into a second office. You know, since the first one gets crowded when my assistant visits. Their eyebrows twitched. Showed them the master bedroom, complete with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. The bathroom with a freestanding tub that probably cost more than my first car. The custom-built home gym. Ryan muttered under his breath. Must be nice. Loud enough for me to hear. Loud enough for everyone to hear. I turned and smiled straight at him. Yeah, hard work usually is. He didn't say a word after that. Back downstairs, guests were toasting, swapping stories about new projects and crazy successes. Everywhere my parents turned, they heard people talking about things they'd never been part of. Tech launches, private investments, international travel, dreams coming true, and not a single story involved them. Not one. I caught my mom standing by the hors d'oeuvres table, staring at a photo someone had snapped of me and the Business Accelerator team. The people who gave me my first real shot. Real family, if you ask me. My dad looked like he wanted to say something, but every time he opened his mouth, someone else came over to congratulate me. And I just kept smiling. Because for the first time in my life, they couldn't take credit for anything. This was all me. Built from nothing. Brick by brick. While they clapped for Ryan's every half step, I was out there building a whole damn world they never even knew existed. And now? Now they were tourists. Strangers in a place that could have been theirs, if only they believed. The thing about people like my parents? They hate losing control. They hate realizing the kid they underestimated is the one holding the keys now, literally and figuratively. After the awkward house tour, they floated around the party like they didn't know where to stand. Everywhere they turned, they bumped into pieces of my life they had no part in building. Old college friends who stuck around. Startup mentors who believed when no one else did. Business partners who saw my hustle before anyone else would. And then there were my new friends, people I met along the way, who didn't care where I came from, only where I was going. Around 8:30 p.m., we all sat down for a casual dinner on the back patio. Long farmhouse tables under string lights. The city skyline glittering in the distance. Warm breeze. Laughter echoing across the lawn. My parents ended up squeezed at the far end of the table, next to some of the older investors I'd partnered with. I could see my mom trying to network, dropping hints about Ryan's bright future and how family is everything. Nobody bit. Meanwhile, Ryan sat hunched over his plate, stabbing at his food like it had personally insulted him. About halfway through dinner, my dad raised his glass and cleared his throat. Here it comes, I thought. He gave a little speech, the kind you could tell he hadn't planned. All awkward pauses and forced smiles. "We're just so proud," he said, voice cracking a little. "Proud of the man you've become. Always knew you'd, make something of yourself." Liar. He didn't believe in me when I worked double shifts and still showed up to class exhausted. He didn't believe in me when I graduated college while working 2 jobs. He didn't believe in me when I moved out alone with $300 to my name. He believed in Ryan. He believed in the golden child who couldn't pass freshman math, but got a Jeep anyway. I smiled politely, raised my glass, tapped it once on the table. Nothing more. I wasn't giving them a redemption arc. I wasn't throwing them a rope to pull themselves into my life again. After dinner, guests started peeling off into small groups, talking business, planning trips, exchanging cards. Real connections. Real partnerships. My parents hovered awkwardly on the sidelines. At one point, my mom sidled up next to me. Soft smile. Syrupy voice. "You know, honey," she said, squeezing my arm. "Family sticks together. You could really help Ryan out. He's got big ideas, you know." There it was. The pitch. They didn't come to celebrate me. They came because they thought they could use me. Leverage the success they ignored until it became impossible to miss. Trade on the last name they never bothered to be proud of before. I didn't take the bait. Instead, I smiled. The same way they smiled at my graduation dinner when they gave me that pathetic check and said, "I'm sure Ryan will figure it out. After all, he's always had all the support he needed." And I meant it. Every word. I watched the realization flicker across her face. That faint, panicked look when you realize you're not the one holding the cards anymore. Ryan slouched closer, overhearing, and muttered, "Must be nice having everything handed to you now." Handed to me. The kid who slept 4 hours a night to stay afloat. The kid who lived off instant noodles and expired gas station sandwiches. The kid who built something from nothing. I looked him dead in the eye and said, calmly, "Funny, I don't remember anyone handing me a $40,000 Jeep." He turned red. My mom grabbed his arm, hissing something under her breath. My dad pretended not to hear. I walked away before they could say anything else. I had better people to talk to, better conversations to have, better memories to make. The rest of the night blurred into laughter and music and future plans. When the last guests left, when the lights dimmed and the house finally went quiet, I stood out on the balcony looking over the city, thinking about everything it had taken to get there. Every late shift, every slammed door, every fake smile at family dinners. All of it had led here. And the ones who made it harder? They weren't part of the reward. They were just guests passing through a house they had no real claim to. Just like I always planned. After the party, there was no big blow-up. No screaming match. No angry texts the next day. Just silence. The next morning, my parents sent a short text. "Thank you for inviting us. Beautiful home. So proud of you." No calls. No invitations to dinner. No, let's catch up soon. It felt weird at first. You spend your whole life fighting for scraps of attention, and when you finally stop needing them, it leaves this big, empty space. Like a room that used to be full of noise and clutter, suddenly clean and quiet. I thought about reaching out. Maybe to smooth things over. Maybe just to say something polite. But then I realized there was nothing left to say. They had made their choices a long time ago. They nurtured Ryan. They invested their pride, their money, their dreams into him. Even when he stumbled, even when he didn't earn it. They told me I was the independent one. They told me I didn't need much. And they were right. I didn't need much. Just not in the way they thought. I didn't need handouts. I didn't need car keys or checks. I didn't even need applause. All I ever needed was belief. And when they couldn't give me that, I learned how to give it to myself. The next few months rolled by quietly. No surprise visits. No guilt trips. The occasional holiday text, the kind you send to a distant cousin you barely remember. Happy Thanksgiving. Merry Christmas. Hope you're well. Sometimes, I caught glimpses of Ryan's life on social media. The Jeep got repossessed. He bounced from job to job. Selfies with captions like, New Year, New Grind. But no real change. Just endless starts and stops. At first, I felt a little bad. Guilty, even. He wasn't a villain. Just a kid who got handed everything and never learned how to hold on to it. But that guilt faded when I remembered the smirks. The little jabs. The must-be-nice sneers. The way he stood there grinning while I was handed a wrinkled $100 check at my own graduation. Choices have consequences, even when you don't notice you're making them. The biggest one? When you fail to show up for someone when it matters, really matters, they remember. They don't always slam the door. Sometimes they just move to a bigger house. A better life. One you can see, but no longer enter. I didn't cut them off. No dramatic goodbye. No angry letters. I just lived my life and let them realize, at their own pace, that they were no longer part of it. The last time I heard from them was almost a year after the housewarming party. An email. Short. Polite. Asking if I could help Ryan get something started. A vague business idea he had. No apology. No real acknowledgement of the past. I read it once. Closed it. Never responded. Because some doors, once closed, don't need to be slammed shut. They just need to stay closed. And as I sat in my office that night, sunlight fading over the city, new projects lined up on my desk, real friends texting about real plans, I realized something. Family isn't who shares your blood. Family is who shows up when you need them. Family is who believes in you before the trophies, the houses, the big fancy titles. They didn't. And that's okay. Because I did. And that was enough. And that's the story. If you're still here, that means you're one of us. So go ahead, hit that subscribe button. I drop new chaos every single day, and trust me, tomorrow's story, it's even worse than this one.